Right.
Okay, right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good evening. I'm your parliamentary candidate for upcoming election that is going to take place tomorrow. I'm an independent candidate. I'm standing asking you to consider voting for an independent candidate primarily because the traditional parties have let us down pretty badly. What they've done is they've created a system, or they've created a status quo where they take our votes for granted. They think we are always going to vote for Labour and we are always going to deliver this seat to the Labour Party regardless of who they put, regardless of the competency of the constituent MP. But that is about to change. There is a saying, if you put the Labour badge on a cat in this area, the cat is going to become the MP. Well, that's not going to happen anymore. It may have happened before, that's not going to happen anymore. In this election, we're mounting a serious challenge to the Labour candidate. We're mounting a serious challenge to all the traditional parties, and we're saying enough is enough. You can't be supporting, aiding and abetting a genocide and then expect us to vote for you blindly. You can't be expecting us to not punish you in the ballot boxes when you have stayed silent over the massacre of 40,000 people.
Shame on you.
Yes. And
shame.
Yes.
Shame on Labour. Shame on Labour. Shame on Labour.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, sums it up as far as I'm concerned. If something like this was to happen in my constituency, let me give it to you in scale. My constituency of Bethnal Green and Stepney has 80,000 voters. 80,000 voters. Can you imagine 40,000 of them have been killed by bomb blasts? That's exactly what happened in Gaza. 40,000 people, half of my constituents have been killed. That's the number. And more than 100,000 have been injured. And more than 2 million people have been displaced in their own, in a prison that have been forced to live. And yet the Labour Party leader said, it's okay, switch off the electricity, it's okay for Israel to switch off water, it's okay for Israel to starve the Palestinians to death. He is supposed to be a human rights lawyer. And again, it's a shame that the human rights lawyer would say something like that. So it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to unite together and stand on our moral principle of human rights for all people in all parts of the world. Rights of all people to have access to security, access to a state of their own, access to water, food, electricity, and most importantly, dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, Palestinians have been treated in the most abysmal manner you can imagine. And yet our politicians are cowardly. They turn a blind eye as if it's not happening. So I say to you, this election is going to be a referendum on which side of the moral compass you sit on. If you side Labour Party, Conservative Party or the Lib Dems, you're siding genocide. If you oppose them and if you vote for independent, then I believe you're opposing genocide. And that's what we are here for. And second, the most pressing thing of our time is that Keir Starmer, the Labour Party leader, has said very clearly that he wants to send all the Bangladeshi illegal immigrants back to Bangladesh. As if, on a fast track of course, as if Bangladeshis are the only ones who have illegal immigrants. And you know what, according to Home Office data, we're not even on the top 20. In fact, the ambassador of Bangladesh had to write a letter rebuking both the opposition leader, Keir Starmer, and Ashworth, and saying, we don't have a single case of people to return pending. How could you say something as stupid as that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that indicates the true intention of Labour Party leadership. They don't, and they're not our friends. And we don't have to pretend to be their friends. We don't have to vote for them anymore. We can vote with our feet. And in the next election, coming election, give them a bloody nose. You know why? Because of the genocide that they've sided and abetted and aided. And because of the racist and illegal statement Keir Starmer has said. We are together in making a change. And that's what we stand for. We stand for change, ladies and gentlemen. And I stand for change. And I invite you to vote for me in the upcoming election of 2024 on tomorrow, 4th of July. Let me just say that in Bangla very briefly so that anyone listening from any of these balconies who don't understand English can understand Bangla at least. আমি আপনার সামনে আজকে আইছি আগামী কালকের ইলেকশনের ব্যাপারে আপনারা জানেন লেবার পার্টিরে এই এলাকাত ভোট দিয়ে আইসেন আমরা হলে স্পেশালি মুরব্বী হলে চোখ বন্ধ করিয়া, কারণ লেবার পার্টিয়ে মানুষের সাহায্য করছে এবং আমরা তাদের কৃতজ্ঞতা প্রকাশ করে তারা ভোট দিছি। কিন্তু এবার দেখা যায় ও লেবার পার্টি আমরা বিরুদ্ধে উঠিয়ে পড়িয়ে লাগছে। 40,000 মুসলমানদের মারা হয়েছে, গাজার মাঝে তারা কোনটা করছে না, বন্ধ করার কথা কইছে না, সিজফায়ার ডাকছে না। 80,000 মানুষের আহত করা হয়েছে, কোনটা করা হয়েছে না। মিলিয়ন্স অফ পিপল তার হোমলেস বানাইছে, কোনটা করা হয়েছে না। তার দেশ ধ্বংস করা হয়েছে, কোনটা করা হয়েছে না। লেবার পার্টির লিডারে কইছেন তারা মারো কোনো অসুবিধা নাই, ইলেকট্রিসিটি বন্ধ করার কোনো অসুবিধা নাই, খানি বন্ধ করলেও কোনো অসুবিধা নাই, এটা বলে তার রাইটস আছে। তাই আবার হিউম্যান রাইটসের লয়া, অত বড় মিথ্যা কথা, অত বড় মিথ্যা কথা তাই কইছেন আমরা সামনে। এর কারণে আমি আপনারা কইব এবার সুচা হয়ে দাঁড়াওকা, এরা ভোট দিবা না কোনো অবস্থায়। মা বোন যারা আসুন যেখানো যখন কালকে ইলেকশন দেইবা দয়া করি লেবার দেখে ভোট দিন না, জানো লেবারে বয়কট করুক আপনারা এই ইলেকশনও। আমরা বাঙালি তারা হয়েছে ফিরে দাঁড়াইব ইলিগাল ইমিগ্রেন্ট যারা আছেন, এটাও রং, এটাও রেসিস্ট একটা পলিসি। আমার কনস্টিটিউয়েন্সির মাঝে এই 80,000 মানুষ থাকেন, 80,000 মানুষ ভোট দিবা, মনে হরুকা 80,000-এর মধ্যে যদি 40,000 রেখে মারিলাই বম মারিয়া, এক্স্যাক্টলি সমান জিনিস হয়েছে প্যালেস্টাইন। আমরা সবাই সুচ্চার হওয়া দরকার, একতাবদ্ধ হওয়া দরকার এবং ইলেকশনে হওয়া দরকার যে আমরা আপনারা সাপোর্ট দিতাম নাই, লেবারে সাপোর্ট দিতাম নাই, লেবারে আমরা বয়কট করবো, আমরা ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট ভোট দিব। ইলেকশন আপনারা আমরা ভোট দিবা এবং আমরা সকলে মিলে জয় ডিক্লেয়ার করবো। উইল অল বি দ্য উইনার্স এন্ড উইল বিকাম ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট, ট্রুলি ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। Yes, brother. Go ahead.
Obviously, you spoke a lot about Palestine and Gaza and everything. So if you were to come in power, what is it that exactly you're going to do for Palestine, and how is it going to benefit the people of Palestine?
Very good question. He said, if I come into power, I don't come into power to form a government. I will become an MP with your vote and with your support and help. So the first thing, as an MP, I will raise the concern that you have in this constituency, louder than you have ever heard before, more than the existing MP who has been your MP for 14 years. I will work with you. I will work with your elected representatives. I'll make sure your voices are heard and taken to the parliament and your issues are heard and argued for, debated. I would lobby government departments for resources. I would speak to different departments to ensure your cases are dealt with. That's the first thing I will do. Second thing I will do is when it comes to Palestine, in the parliament you need parliamentarians whose lives have not been bought by lobby groups, whose lives have not been put on hold because they're afraid of their career. You need parliamentarians who are driven by their conscience. You need parliamentarians who are free thinkers. You need parliamentarians who have moral compass. You need parliamentarians who will stand up and call a genocide. And I'll do that. I'll lobby for the Palestinians. I will raise this voice in every sphere and opportunity I get. The most important thing, the story of the Palestinians should never be forgotten. Our freedom is directly dependent on the freedom of the Palestinians. We're not free, ladies and gentlemen, unless the Palestinians are free. So I make a promise to you. I will work, I will argue, I will lobby, and I will do everything that I can to ensure the Palestinian cause is never forgotten. And we will try our best in the parliament through the support and help of you and the community around to ensure that Palestinians get a free country of their own, so that we can challenge this awful toxic ideology called Zionism that has gripped the Middle East as well as the world. That's a political ideology that we need to challenge. We're together in justice and fairness, and we oppose racism, apartheid and Zionism from all background. So what I will do for you is I will carry on lobbying for the Palestinians. I'll carry on lobbying for you, and I'll be an MP for you, elected by you, accountable to you, and I'll work with you inshallah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody else? Any questions?
Local question.
Yes.
Under the current administration Aspire Party, tireless VAT infestation is far and wide. You as a elected member from the central government, will you raise this with local government?
What was the first part of your question?
Rat infestation.
Oh, rat infestation.
Under Lutfur Rahman and the Aspire administration, VAT infestation is the highest, and for 2 years before complaints, nothing's happened.
I see the environmental issue that you're talking about. So this is the...
How will you raise this with the Aspire Party in the mayor? Because right now, everyone from the Burnham State have raised issues for the past 1.5 years. We've had no results.
So the rat infestation is not a small issue, it's a massive one. Across London there is rat infestation. And rat infestation is more acute in... Hold on.
My question is more that we've raised this as a committee from the Burnham State. The mayor and his administration have done nothing.
Now, I'm coming to it.
What can you do
I'm coming to that.
Help us.
I'm coming to that. I'll answer that for you. Rat infestation has three elements to it. I'm just giving you. One is London-wide there is a rat infestation, and that's unfortunately the issue that we have across London. Secondly, rat infestation happens in places that have not been kept clean by the local authority or have not been kept clean by the local residents. So we need to come together with local authority to make sure our streets are cleaned, our dustbins are collected on time, our the gutters are cleansed, our drain is cleansed regularly. So the environment needs to be kept clean. This has to happen with work and with pressure, as well as with request and cooperation with the local authority. And the third thing I will do, look, we all have a responsibility to make sure our locality is kept clean. I'd like us to all come together and say to any local authorities, if you're failing, we'll do it ourselves. People power need to be exercised. And I think people power will put people in power to shame. And we begin by really becoming independent MPs here, independent in the sense of our dependency on any parties. We want to take democracy back into our own hands. Local power, ladies and gentlemen. So I will work with you. I'll raise it to the local authority. I will work with the local community to make sure we keep ourselves and our environment clean. But most importantly, we'll have to work with the entire London mayor as well as the London administration to see if we can clean whole of London from the rat infestation that we're all suffering from.
Brilliant. Alamin.
Another question related to Palestine. Obviously, from what you asked previously, that
He's not going to listen to
raise
you.
the voice and everything. But how about practically, like for example, a lot of people are getting criminalized for protesting. Like for example, Cage, the other day, 5 members or 6 members of Cage prisoners, it's an NGO, human rights NGO, they got arrested. So what kind of measures are you going to put in place to make sure like the public are safe in raising their voice? I'm not even talking about anything like just raising their voice, campaigning, demonstrating, so that they don't get arrested or they don't get criminalized.
Very good.
You know, it's a most important question for us because it's all about civil liberty, freedom of speech. It's about our rights. In this country, it's enshrined in our Magna Carta, as they call it, that every one of us have the right to free speech. And that cannot be taken away by anybody. If anybody challenges that or takes it away from us, we have every right to fight back. And believe it or not, the courts are on our side. Supreme Court has ruled on many occasions. An example, when a professor was sacked from his job in Bristol University for criticizing Zionism, the professor's belief was upheld. And he was told that he has every right to criticize Zionism because Zionism was a political ideology and it was part of his protected belief that he has the right to free speech and criticize. So we have a system in our country that even if governments or parties try to tinker with our liberty, freedom and liberty, our courts will be very heavy. So I will work with our legal system that guarantees you and I our freedom to speak, our freedom to assemble, our freedom to protest. We will fight with the government if governments try to curtail them. Even the previous Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, when she tried to criminalize marches, she lost in the high courts. When our high court said Suella Braverman is wrong and it's illegal for her to try and impose any of those punitive measures against the demonstrators. So I will work with you. I will work with the pressure groups, the civil liberties organizations that we have, whether they're from Muslim background or the wider society background, to create greater alliances so that our civil liberty, our freedom to protest and speak is never curtailed and is never eroded. I stand for freedom. We are all born free and we shall remain free, and nobody has the right to undermine our freedom.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Any other questions? Anything else? Anybody?
No. Well, there is one more. There is one more to you all. Look, we can change. We can make history. We made history before here, right? Not that long ago. When Iraq war happened and Una King said, well, if you don't like what I've done, vote me out. We voted her out. Well, you did. You did a very good job. And you showed her where to go. You have one more chance this time. Somebody who doesn't listen to your concerns, who doesn't call for a ceasefire. In this election, vote her out. Simple. Vote together, and the only person or the only prospect of getting rid of Roshnara is to vote for an independent candidate. And I am yours. Please vote for me. I'll be at your service. Young man, go ahead. You've got one more question.
It's good. It's good. It's
Current status quo, right?
Huh?
Muslims are getting targeted as terrorists and etc. So we have many cases like that. So Muslims, like just from demonstration and all of that stuff, or even aid work, like we're getting very squeezed and limited. So terrorism is a big issue, and it seems like it's been used politically just to trash opponents or other views. So now my question to you is, what would you do? Like, for example, people are getting, a lot of Muslims are getting stripped of the British citizenship, like getting treated as second-class citizens. Now, to give you an example, if you look at the case of Shamima Begum, right? So Shamima Begum is from Tahamdes. Now, when she left, she was a 14-year-old girl. I'm sure most of you have 14-year-old girls.
Yes.
Now, this case, why isn't it being looked at as a grooming case? Why is she being looked at as a terrorist? So the sort of for the kitabuzi. Do you see?
Yeah.
Right? So the thing is, what measures would you take place? Or what actions?
What can we do? What can we do?
Yeah, what can we do? Because she's stuck somewhere.
You know, the simple and straightforward answer to your question, what can we do about cases like Shamima Begum's case? Shamima Begum's case did not get very far, because it was politicized by the Conservative Party. And Conservative Party wanted to keep its right-wing voter bank on their side. When we play around with people's lives and liberty, when we politicized our freedom, when we turn a blind eye to a 14-year-old girl who has been groomed into joining ISIS, and when we think it's acceptable for this to be ignored, but it's not okay to be other cases to be ignored, we create inconsistencies, we create more anger and grievances. So I will be calling for consistent application of our law, consistent application of our legal rights in all aspects of our life. As an MP, I will do that in the parliament. I'll speak out. If Shamima Begum is guilty of a crime, bring her here. Put her in the courts of the UK. Put the evidence, and if she is found guilty, put her behind bars for as long as the court wishes. But leaving her in a limbo state, in a country that's been destroyed by our government because of the illegal Iraq war, but as well as been destroyed by our allies like Bashar al-Assad, the butcher of Syria. When we see that, and our government then turns a blind eye, we find this despicable, we find this unacceptable, we find such double standard deeply offensive to the very basic conscience and intellect of our people. We're not stupid. We see the double standard the governments and many establishments follow. So I'll be your voice in the parliament, calling out against double standard. I'll be your voice calling out against the inconsistent policies of our government. I'll be your voice in the parliament, calling out against unethical foreign policies that our government has been pursuing. By the way, I've been doing it for 35 years from the outside, from the media, and I'll continue doing that, inshallah, even if I don't become an MP, but I will, inshallah, will, with your help and support tomorrow, inshallah. We'll come back victorious, and we'll have a loud and clear voice in the parliament, doing what we need to do together. Remember, we will not be able to change anything with one person. This is just one step in the right direction. We all need to come together, unite, and end the years of dependency, years of colonial master versus a slave relationship. Demand your right. I am equal to the rest of the country. I may be a Muslim, I may be Bangladeshi, but I'm equal in this country. This is my home too. And I deserve the right to be respected in the same way. And my children deserve the right to be respected in the same way. And my government needs to be held to account for its inconsistencies, its hypocrisies and double standards. So I'll stand up if I become an MP to ensure consistency, universality of our law, human rights, our values and our unity. That's what I will do. I ask you to unite together to ensure that you vote for the right people and vote for those people who will serve your interest, not their personal interest or interest of lobby groups. I hope you do that in the next election.
Thank you. Thank you. So everyone, 5 July, that's tomorrow. What are we all going to do tomorrow on the 4th of July?
Vote Ajmal Masroor.
Thank you. He's your man. He's our brother. He's from this community. And he is going to be our voice in Parliament, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Amar bhai, tumar bhai. Ajmal bhai, Ajmal bhai.
Are we done? Any
কিচ্ছু সমস্যা হলে আপনার তো রিপ্লেসমেন্ট লাগাইমু আমরা
No, no,
Sarwar is ready.
भाई हमने तो अगला देखो अगला देखो भाई को ऑर्डर दिले ना এটা দিলেই তো কি দিছো আল্লাহু আকবার তো করে গেলাম ভাই ভাই আপনি তো করে গেলাম
খালি আগে না রব তো বেলা আছে হ্যাঁ ক্যামেরা দেখাও
ভাই ওনার ভাই ওর সামনে ভাড়া মারি উঠি
কোন সাইডে দিও আপনার
Hold that to Maruko.
Yes.
Leader.
Don't make him excited.
Vai socar.
They're all looking up.
Yes, Maya.
আমরা সব করে দিই স্লোগান দিলাই
Say something.
For Ajmal Masroor.
Say something. কিছু হইল না
হাল দিলে হাল
আপনি পার্লামেন্টে গুড়াল লাগান দৌড়াইব
মাশাআল্লাহ ভেরি গুড চিল্লাইতে পারে বুঝলাম
Thank you, brother.
One horse race. One inshallah.
Yeah, this is a one horse race.
আমি আপনার সামনে আজকে আইছি আগামী কালকের ইলেকশনের ব্যাপারে আপনারা জানেন লেবার পার্টিরে এই এলাকাত ভোট দিয়ে আইসেন আমরা অখলে স্পেশালি মুরব্বী অখলে চোখ বন্ধ করিয়া কারণ লেবার পার্টিয়ে মানুষের সাহায্য করছে এবং আমরা তাদের কৃতজ্ঞতা প্রকাশ করে তারা ভোট দিছি কিন্তু এবার দেখা যায় ও লেবার পার্টি আমরা বিরুদ্ধে উঠিয়ে পড়িয়ে লাগছে 40,000 মুসলমানদের মারা হয়েছে গাজার মাঝে তারা কোনটা করছে না বন্ধ করার কথা কইছে না সিজফায়ার ডাকছে না 80,000 মানুষের মারা আহত করা হয়েছে কোনটা করা হয়েছে না মিলিয়ন্স অফ পিপল তারা হোমলেস বানাইছে কোনটা করা হয়েছে না তার দেশ ধ্বংস করা হয়েছে কোনটা করা হয়েছে না লেবার পার্টির লিডারে কইছেন তারা মারও কোনো অসুবিধা নাই ইলেকট্রিসিটি বন্ধ করার কোনো অসুবিধা নাই খানি বন্ধ করলে কোনো অসুবিধা নাই এটা বলে তার রাইটস আছে তাই আবার হিউম্যান রাইটসের লয়া অত বড় মিথ্যা কথা তাই কইছেন আমরা সামনে এর কারণে আমি আপনারা কইব এবার সুচা হয়ে দাঁড়াওকা এরা ভোট দিবা না কোনো অবস্থায় মা বোন যারা আসুন যেখানো যখন কালকে ইলেকশন দেইবা দয়া করি লেবার দেখে ভোট দিন না জানো লেবারে বয়কট করুক আপনারা এই ইলেকশনও আমরা বাঙালি হলে তারা হয়েছে ফিরে দাঁড়াইব ইলিগাল ইমিগ্রেন্ট যারা আছেন এটাও রং এটাও রয়েছে একটা পলিসি আমার কনস্টিটিউয়েন্সির মাঝে এই 80,000 মানুষ থাকেন 80,000 মানুষ ভোট দিবা মনে হরুকা 80,000 মধ্যে যদি 40,000 রেখে মারিলাই বম মারিয়া এক্স্যাক্টলি সমান জিনিস হয়েছে প্যালেস্টাইন আমরা সবাই সুচার হওয়া দরকার একতাবদ্ধ হওয়া দরকার এবং এই ইলেকশনে হওয়া দরকার যে আমরা আপনারা সাপোর্ট দিতাম নাই লেবারে সাপোর্ট দিতাম নাই লেবারে আমরা বয়কট করবো আমরা ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট ভোট দিব এই ইলেকশন আপনারা আমরা ভোট দিবা এবং আমরা সকলে মিলে জয় ডিক্লেয়ার করবো উইল অল বি দ্য উইনার্স এন্ড উইল বিকাম ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট ট্রুলি ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ